Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. It is with great pleasure to welcome you all to this session on writing a research proposal. As you may all know, writing a research proposal is a very important step for anyone considering postgraduate study, either at the MA level or PhD level. Even for PhD holders, writing proposal is still important. Um, if, uh, if anyone considering, for instance, applying for grants or even starting new research. So to shed more light on the topic, we are very pleased to have with us our Dr. Ahmad Alzahrani from the Faculty of Arts and Humanities at King Abdulaziz University. Dr. Ahmad is an assistant professor um, as I said, in King Abdulaziz University. He has his PhD in Applied Linguistics and specializes in e-learning, web design, computer maintenance, language testing, and AI in education. He has developed innovative technology-driven assessment solution and enhancing accuracy and learning engagement in classrooms. He's a published author and presented locally and internationally. So without further ado, Dr. Ahmed, the floor is yours.
طيب السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. First of all, thank you, Dr. Suha, for this interesting introduction to this session. First of all, I must apologize because I'm going through a bad flu and I think most of the people these days are going through the same issue. So hopefully this will not impact how the session is going to be run. Second, this is a two-session workshop. The first one is today, inshallah. The second is going to be next week on the same day and on the same time. So this is going to be like an introduction to the research proposal. What is a research proposal? Why is it important to have a good research proposal written in an academic way? Why do we usually make sure that the proposal needs to be written in a well-formulated way? We will also discuss some ethical considerations in research, which is going to be the first thing we will focus on, because everything starts from an ethical consideration of your research proposal. We also discuss how to select a research topic that is valid, researchable, doable, feasible, and also researchable, how to pick up a good research problem and a research gap that you can use for your own project, and how to start formulating research objectives and perhaps some preliminary research questions, because everything is dependent on the research questions. So we will also have a little focus or more focus on that. طيب. So in this workshop, we will understand the purpose of a research proposal. Now, it's a proposal, which means what? Which means that it is a subject to being accepted or rejected, depending on how well it is formulated and how good the research problem is put and considered, and how well your research problem is understood by the author himself before he is trying to convince a committee or an examiner or a funding body or agent with their own research aim and objectives and the goal of doing this research. So this is one thing. The other thing is we need to understand the essentials of ethical issues around research. We have participants who are willing to share their own lived experiences, personal stories, their own private issues and problems. Sometimes you are dealing with patients, sometimes you are dealing with kids, sometimes you are dealing with vulnerable people, seniors. All of this needs to be protected because they have given you the permission to access to their lives, and therefore you need to guarantee to them that they will be protected against any kind of harm. And this is why we need to have a focus on that as well. Third, we will also discuss the topics. What topic? Because there are so many topics out there you can pick up from, and there is plenty of research topics. But which one is the best one that fits your purposes? The ones that you will spend a lengthy period of time, like 3, 4, 5 years, working with, and the one that you do not lose the passion and the interest throughout the years. Because if you are doing a master's or a PhD, you will be spending at least, I would say, 3 to 4 years working on the same topic, reading perhaps the same articles, meeting the same supervisors, reading the same books. So at some point you will lose the interest. You will, I would say, give up, because some students do. And that's why it is very important to plan well and think of a topic that is really fascinates you, and something you want to do for perhaps the rest of your life. Also, one of the key issues in building a good research proposal is to build a strong objectives, or create a precise research objectives. What you gonna do exactly, and how are you going to do it? It's not just narrative. You don't just say, I'm interested in this and I will do it in this way. No, you need to be precise, you need to be detailed, you need to say everything you plan to do, and you need to have always backup plans. If there are issues, you need to work within a time frame, and all these little details that we will inshallah discuss today. طيب, first of all, you see this picture. This is like an engineer. He is working on a design of a building. Now, research proposal is very similar to this architectural plan. Okay, you need to outline every critical component, from the initial questions to the final deliverables, the ones that you will, the end product of your research proposal, which is probably a research paper or a thesis or a dissertation or a research project. Now, first of all, the proposal is like an argument. You need to convince the supervisors, the committees, also the funders who are willing to pay money for you to work on this project. You need to convince them that your research is something that is of some benefit to them as well. In the case of doing this in academic settings, you need to convince the supervisors and the committee or the examiners who are reading your work that this is a good research proposal uh, through different ways. One of them is to write a clear research proposal with all the directions and within a well-known and defined scope. What is a scope? If you are, for example, working on education, you need to be specific, which means that you cannot research all aspects of education or all aspects of English language in education. No, you need to narrow down your topic to be more specific and to be to the point. Just very little research scope that you can do within a given time framework. Also, you need to prove the significance and originality of your research. The significance means that this is important. I mean, not all research is important. Not all research is or is of some value. We do have great ideas. We want to change the world. We want to solve all the problems in the world. I know that, but we have to be reasonable. We have to be specific in our ideas. What exactly we want to do within the time we are given. For example, if you are a master student, you are probably given one semester to do a research. So don't bring up a topic that needs 2 or 3 years to be executed. Originality means that you have to come up with something different in the field, something new, something adds to the field. You don't want to reinvent the wheel and talk about and discuss an issue that has been discussed before. I mean, what's the reason? It's a waste of time and resources and efforts for you, for your supervisors, for the institutions you are working in or with, or the people you are who are participating in your research. So don't reinvent the wheel. The wheel is already there. Try to think of something else. Also, some of you perhaps needs to secure an approval for funding. مثلا, if you are applying for funding to get some money for your research, you need to write a good research proposal that convinces the funders that their money is not going to be wasted. Okay. Also, you need to think of the timeline. I mean, if you are doing a project within 3 years, you have to design the research proposal and the whole plan to fit within these 3 years and do not exceed them in any ways. Okay, of course there will be some issues, some delays, some problems. We do understand that, but in the planning stage, which is the research proposal, you need to be clear about your time frame. I'll do this in 1 year, I'll do this in 6 months, and so on. You have to plan these things very well. طيب, some of the ethical considerations in research writing is you need to make sure that your research holds the honesty and transparency of your goals and aims. For example, make sure you say everything you want to do. Okay, you when you plan something, you want to interview some people or you want to do something, make sure that you state very clearly and explicitly in your research what are you going to do from the beginning. Okay, مثلا, if you are studying vulnerable populations like old people or patients, or let's say some people with disabilities, you need to explicitly state how you will protect their identities and minimize their risks. Yes, also with children. Some people, most of the people are doing research with children, and they think it's fine because they are children. We can do, I mean, interviews, we can take videos and all that. No, this is a big no in research. You have to be careful with vulnerable people. You need to protect their identities. You need to guarantee anonymity to them. And so the, nothing in your research will lead back to them in any way. This is one of the ethical issues you need to consider. The second thing is that you need to have respect for the participants. Okay, what does respect mean? You need to inform them exactly what they are going through from the beginning to the end. You need to guarantee them also the fact that this is a voluntarily participation. They can withdraw anytime without asking any question, without raising any concerns. If they decided to leave, they can leave at any time. And it personally happened with me, to be honest. I was doing this research, and this team was, they signed the consent forms and they told me they will be participating. But when I started with them, I turned on the cameras. When they saw the cameras, they just got scared and they decided not to participate. I respected that. I collected my stuff and I left that classroom without asking any question, without raising any issue. So you need to guarantee for your participants this fact. Also, you need to have, and I'm very sure you have the academic integrity. I mean, but this sometimes this integrity is at risk because of minor issues with citation. So when you cite people, you need to be careful with these citations. Yani, sometimes a small mistake like a comma, a quotation mark, a misspelling, a punctuation, these small issues allows the big softwares like Turnitin and those plagiarism software to detect or not detect that this is a well-cited quotation, and this could put you in troubles. And make sure you cite well using the academic style, either APA, Harvard, Chicago, any kind of style you use in your own field, because different fields have different citation styles or MLA styles. So make sure you follow these ones to avoid plagiarism. Sometimes you are accused of plagiarism from your own work because you are citing your own self from a different paper, and this is called self plagiarism. You also need to cite yourself and make sure everything is put in the right way and in the academic way. Okay. Right. How to choose a research topic. Now, the first thing you need to think of is that it has to be aligned with your both interest and expertise. So you can be interested in a topic, but you do not have the experience. You do not have the knowledge. You don't have the, I would say, the enough skills that you need to put together with your own understanding of the topic, so you could execute the topic in the best way possible. So we think of lots of things we want to do research on. AI, let's say we want to do something about technology, robotics, medical issues. But the question is, do we have the abilities to do that? Do we have the skills, the expertise? We need to question that all the time. So make sure you have everything ready for the research topic. Second, we talked about this, you need to ensure originality. Okay, make sure your research is discussing a new data, something different. You could approach something has been approached before, but from a different perspective. You could reanalyze data used by someone else, but from a different angle, or discuss the same issue from uh, a different perspective or a different dimension, and so on. Also, you need to verify feasibility. Okay, now you need to work within a good time frame. You need to ask yourself, do I have access to the data? Do I have access to the participants? Do I have access or have a good budget for the equipment? If I needed skilled people to participate with me, how can I make sure that they are available? So you need to make sure that this is of academic significance. You need to question, will this research matter to scholars, practitioners, and policymakers? Or I am the only one who is going to be interested in that topic. Okay, it's good to be interested yourself, but you also need to make sure that other people are interested in that topic. Okay. طيب, now if I may ask you to scan this code and think of one research topic that is very interesting in your fields. I know you come from different fields. Okay, so think of one question that keep arising in your field. Okay, a problem you want to investigate, something you think it is worth spending time, money, efforts, and everything doing it for a couple of years to come. Okay, so let's see if you have participated in any ways.
Oh, thank you, Dr. Ahmed, for that. So as you can see, Dr. Ahmed shared the QR code. You can scan it with your phone and reply to the question posted on the screen.
Yes, if you can, it's fine. If you can, you can. This is the question. I put the question in the chat. If you are unable to access the code, you can write in the chat. I can see some questions coming up. Okay, I will show you in a minute. I'll just wait for another minute, and then I'll show you what are these questions. Let me show you this live. I think it's very interesting to see. Do you see that? I see some interesting questions also in the chat. What is the effect of TikTok slang on EFL everyday communication? The effect of AI corrective feedback on revision quality compared to teacher comments. This is also interesting. Use of AI in EFL classes for brainstorming. What is the best diet for me? I want you to think with me of these questions and how do you see them? Do you think these are interesting? See these questions here. How to use ventilators correctly. How effective is ChatGPT for automated written feedback? I can see many of you are interested in feedback. This is a how venture capital affects the Saudi vision. This is interesting. How to use AI in healthcare. This is a very interesting issue as well. I can see that you really have some interesting topics. Okay, but the question is, are they doable? I can see some big questions like use of AI in healthcare. This is a very big topic. طيب, research problem needs to have certain qualities, okay? Now, first of all, it needs to identify a specific gap, like AI in healthcare. So this is like a very broad topic. Healthcare has many sectors. AI has many different aspects. I mean, which specific AI skill or AI abilities that needs to be in what healthcare sector? You need to identify the challenge or the question that your study will address. For example, you need to be clear, very clear. Okay, you need to understand the issue first before you put it in a research proposal. You need to make sure that the readers, when they read the article or they read the research proposal, they also understand in very simple language. You don't have to be complicated to make it look like something that is really big. You need to be concise, very focused. One issue. You can probably have a bigger scope, but it is always better to focus on one simple small issue. The research proposal or the research problem needs to be significant. It needs to be worth investigating. It's not a waste of time. I mean, what's the point of researching something no one is going to use or no one is going to make any benefit from? For example, I have seen a question in the code or the answers. Someone was saying, what is the best diet for me? Yeah, this is a very important question to you. But is it important for other people? It is important, but you need to formulate it in a way that is to make it important for other people as well. You could say, for example, what is the best diet for the people who are aged between this and this. You need to be more specific about these details. You need to make sure that this research is doable. There is an answer to your research questions, okay? And you also need to make sure that your methodology will help you answer your research questions, because otherwise your research questions will get you nowhere if the methodology does not answer your research question. If you are asking, for example, yes or no question, you need to make sure to use statistics, okay? You don't ask questions like how something will happen, because these how questions are difficult to answer. They are not measurable. They are not something you can statistically or qualitatively approve, okay? Okay, now let's think in the chat together for a research problem. Okay, I want you to think very quickly in 3 to 5 minutes or less perhaps of a research problem, not a research question, a research problem that you want to investigate. Okay, make sure you use few words, precise words, something that we can understand easily in a simple language. يعني مثلا I will write one in the chats. Okay, failing IELTS exam, and many students need to do IELTS many times. Okay, so this is a research problem that we can research. So think of something similar. I need research problems that in your fields that you think is worth investigating. Okay, and write in the chat, please. Studying methods. This is very broad. This is good, but you need to be more specific. What do you mean by studying methods? Social media addiction? Yeah, this is a very good one. And let's be more specific about it. Let's say by kids. Tourism discourse. Okay, unbalanced WLB for faculties. This is a very good one. You mean feedback. Why do ELI students struggle in academic writing? This is very interesting. Teacher burnout. I do agree. This is really an issue that needs investigating. Diet culture and its effect on health. This is interesting. Writing off-topic paragraphs in exams. Yeah, I see so many interesting topics here. Teachers' mental hygiene. What does that mean? It seems interesting, but I don't know what is mental hygiene means. Time pressure, very broad, good, but very broad. Publication patterns about nutrition, diet, types, very specific. I like that. Low level of engagement among young Saudi students. Very interesting. TikTok slang is popular, but it affects EFL everyday communication. Very specific. I like that. Choosing traditional SLA or global Englishes for non-Englishes. Oh, this is interesting. Yeah, I like this one. It's an EMI topic. Yeah, this is EMI. How can we reach the previous lectures? I don't know. Okay, so let's move on because of the time. Now, I want you always to think of choosing the topic using the SMART framework. The research objectives, which is what are you going to do? What is your outcome? What is you plan to achieve, okay, when you finish this research? SMART means S for specific, M for measurable, A for achievable, R for relevant, T for time bound. You need to choose the objectives that are very specific and clearly define what you will be achieved. Measurable, meaning that you will quantify achievements or progress, or even do that in a qualitative methods. You need to make sure that you have everything in your support: money, resources, budget, participant, access to data, everything ready for executing the research. You need to align your research objectives with your research goals. What are you planning to achieve by the end of this research? And you need to have a time frame. You need to have a deadline. You need to finish and complete your work before the deadline. Okay, now what do you think of this objective? Now take a minute, read this objective, and let's analyze it through the SMART tool, okay? Yalla, show me your analytical skills. This is an example of a research objective. The researcher wants to develop and validate a conceptual framework for identifying and managing scheduling constraints in urban construction projects through interviews with 30 project managers and analysis of 50 project timelines, and completed by December 2025. Okay, but what do you think? Keeping SMART tool in your mind, what do you think of this one? Not achievable? Time frame is not realistic. A lot to achieve. Yeah. 30 project managers, صح? It's a lot. 50 project timelines. The time is short. It's 2 months away. Yeah, I agree with you. A lot of regarding the timeline. طيب, research questions is also very important. I mean, everything is based on your research questions, okay? Now research questions needs to narrow your focus and directly shape your methodology. I mean, the methodology will help you answer your research questions. And if the methodology does not, you need to change either your research questions or your methodology. But it is always better to plan ahead how are you plan to execute the methodology, or make sure that the methodology fits your research questions. Now, people have different perspectives on methodologies. Sometimes you need qualitative data. Sometimes you need quantitative data. Sometimes you need to be pragmatic. You need to do everything that it takes to answer your research questions, either qualitative or quantitative, and they call it or mixed methods. You need to mix everything you can do for the aim of answering your research questions. Okay. Always try to make open-ended questions. Allow deep explorations rather than simple yes or no. Yes or no questions are good, and they're used in pure scientific research. But in humanities, in arts and humanities, it's always better to have open-ended questions, because you are going to interview people, talk to them, listen to their narratives, analyze their talks, provide thick description, uh, analyze their have different interpretations of their data. Have open-ended questions. Okay, always try to be careful with your research questions. Ask how, what, why, or to what extent to be more cautious. When you say to what extent, then you are not constraining yourself to the specific answer, so you are keeping it open. الإجابة تكون مفتوحة. To what extent? Could be more, could be less, could be anything. Always try to focus on relationships. What is the relationship between A and B? Processes. What is the things that something went through as a process? What is the benefit, the advantages, disadvantages? What are the outcomes of something? Make sure your research questions are answerable. I mean, you have you can find an answer. Okay, you need to use logical skills of thinking to formulate research questions. We can ask questions that are impossible to answer, but they are interesting. Okay, like the existence questions, or the question of, is Earth flat, or this is a question that has been going on for uh, thousands of years. Okay, we can still answer this question, but the problem is it worth, I mean, the investigation, or is it just a waste of time? Okay. طيب, now we have different questions, examples of research questions. You could have a primary research question and 2 or 3 secondary research questions. For example, you could ask, what are the main scheduling constraints that affect construction project timeline in urban environments? This is more specific to the engineering, architectural fields. And you can expand on the question on 2 more research questions. Now, because of the time, I want you, if you can, write in the chat 1 research question you are trying to investigate, or you think it's worth investigating. Okay, just 1 research question. Make it clear, make it open-ended, and make sure you can answer the question through the methodology you think you are using. Okay, so if you are thinking of qualitative data, you could ask how, when, why, sorry, to what extent, and these questions. Is cancer curable? This is a question needs statistics, needs quantitative data. We need to look at how many people have been cured from that disease. What are the linguistic challenges of medical students face in academic writing? This is a very interesting question. It's very similar to my PhD question, to be honest. In which parts should I mention research questions? In a specific part called research questions. To what extent can job burnout affect employee satisfaction? Very important, very specific question. What roles does PD play in mitigating teachers' burnout? Very interesting question. Very specific, very interesting, very, very answerable, to be honest. What roles or what role? This can be answered, to be honest. It is something you can answer. What are the dominant frames related to climate change in traditional news media? Discourse analysis. Very interesting question. Why would students avoid learning other languages? Interesting, but very broad. يعني it's very, very broad. I mean, you need to be more specific. What students? What languages? طيب, a research proposal need to be structured in a specific way. You need to have a title page, okay? You need to have an introduction. You need to have a literature review. You need to have a research design that talks about your methodology, data collection, sample size. We will talk about this in details, inshallah, in the next session. I thought it's very important to have a quick look now, and then inshallah in the next session we will go in much details about this. We talked about the ethical consideration, and we also talked about the references and the style you need to format your research in. Some writing tips: you need to be clear, jargon-free. Do not use words or vocabulary that are very specific to your fields that no one else understands. Make sure your audience doesn't know anything about your field. So you explain to them as if they don't know anything about it. Always focus on why this research matters. Write for general audience, those who don't know anything about your research. Also, you need to keep it concise, precise, to the point, focused, narrowed down, but also compelling, something you are interested in. We don't have time for this. This is the final thing we need to do. Now, take a moment. We still have 1 minute. Look at this paragraph and write in the chat if you think the problem is clear. Okay, do you see the problem in this introduction paragraph? You have 1 minute to answer these questions. What do you think, guys? I mean, I know you need more time for that, but it's fine. Just a quick look and tell me if you do understand the research problem from this paragraph. And you can tell from the first sentence. Yes. It's lengthy because it's a paragraph. It's a bit broad, I agree. Very clear. I do agree with Aisha. It is doable. Yes, we can do it. Yeah, these are the questions I want you to think of all the time. When I do research, when I write a research problem, when I introduce my research proposal, I want you to think of these things. Is my research clear? Am I am I presenting my research problem clearly? Am I offering a clear strategies to research to solve the problem? Are my research questions important? Is my methodology going to help me answer my research issues? Okay, which is good. Okay, I think we have an engineer here with us, right? I'm not sure. طيب, some summaries and takeaway. The only way to convince the committee your research proposal is good is to make it clear. Remember this all the time. Be very specific and also be very clear about what you are going to do. Make sure you follow the ethical issue and the guidelines. Make sure you are focused, narrow down, you have a very specific topic and a research questions you want to answer. Avoid being broad all the time, okay? So when you talk about something, be specific. Kids, what kids? What age? Male or female? Uh, Students or other kids. You need to be very specific in what you are doing, and also you need to have all the resources available for you. Thank you. This is the end of the session, and this is a QR code, so you could evaluate. I think this is the requirements for the writing center. If you have a question, please go ahead and ask the questions.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ahmad, for a very informative workshop. And I have to remind our audience, this is only part one. And next week, inshallah, same time, next Wednesday, we'll continue with part two of our discussion of writing a successful research proposal. Um, I know we've got only like 5 to 7 minutes left in our time. So if you got any questions, please share them in the chat box right now, or raise your hand and we can probably try to hand mic over to you. So one question we received, Dr. Ahmed, is about the length of literature review. So what do you think? Like how long should the section on literature review be?
If the research proposal is like 1,500 words, I think it's worth writing 300 to 400 words of that to be for the literature review, because it's a very important part and it's worth more words than other parts. So let's say 20% of the research proposal is dedicated to literature review. There is a question here, does the literature review have to be one paragraph? No, it has to be one section dedicated to literature review. Could be 1, 2, 3 paragraphs, it depends. What about SLR? Can we have workshops specific with this type of? What do you mean by SLR? Second language, you mean? I don't understand this question, to be honest.
Well, for any suggestion, you can use the feedback to write systemic literature review. And I mean,
I see.
Yes, regarding this question and other question suggestions of future workshops, please use the feedback form to write your suggestion, and we'll do our best to accommodate to your request.
Practical research proposal like RCTs, and secondary research proposal like meta-analysis. Yeah, in all the cases, I mean, whatever your research proposal is addressing, in all the cases, you need to follow the guidelines of a research proposal. Now, these small details, you need to mention them when you formulate your research. But in all the cases, you need to be specific, you need to be clear, you need to make sure you follow the ethical approaches to research. Now, these small details like the content, what are you going to do, what are your research questions, all these details are different from one person to another, but you always need to make sure that your research proposal is as we discussed, is very clear, something you can do, something that is worth investigating, and you have all the resources to do. How can we make sure that our research questions are feasible and significant? Now, research questions come from literature review. If you do the literature review very well and you found a good gap and a problem statement, then you can formulate a good research question. This is perhaps you could talk about, inshallah, in the next session. There are ethical guidelines provided by different institutions, including our university, King Abdulaziz University, telling us and students how and to what extent we can use AI. But I will give you my own perspective on the issue. Do not ask AI to do something for you that you should be doing yourself. Okay? You could discuss issues with AI, you could ask questions, ask for further clarification and everything, but don't ask AI to do something for you. I mean, don't say, write the literature review for me, generate something for me. No, this is not an ethical approach. You could ask, what are the articles that discusses this and that, but don't ask AI to do something you should be doing yourself. This is a general guideline with using AI.
Wonderful, thank you. With this, we came to the end of our session today. Thank you, Dr. Ahmad, for a very insightful discussion of on writing research proposal, perfecting a research proposal. Thank you for our audience. And before we go, just a reminder that if you wish to receive certificate, you have to fill out the feedback form. Otherwise, you won't receive any certificates. So please fill out the feedback form. Ensure that you use an email address, active email address, and make sure that you type it correctly so you can receive the certificates. Usually we send the certificates within 2 to 3 days after the sessions. Right? So thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Ahmad, again, and we hope to talk again next week, inshallah.
Thank you so much for the arrangements.